Hi dear students, so I am Srikar Gupta here. In this video, I'm going to explain the video solutions, the solutions of the mains electrical examination 2020 for the subject engineering mathematics here. So here in this engineering mathematics, for this engineering mathematics subject, so we got 72 marks here. We got 72 marks here. It is up here, from the paper one we will be getting this subject questions, and there are 72 marks. It is equal to the last year weightage, so absolutely it is the same weightage, and the topics are also covered the same, but extra some Fourier series is included here. It is right, so that is the only thing. And surprisingly, the partial differential equations is given in the first compulsory question, that is compulsory question, which is the first one. So there the questions have been given on partial differential equations, and now I'm going to explain the clear solutions of these engineering mathematics subject for the mains electrical 2020 examinations. Okay, here we go with the solutions here. Now we are doing the first question from the section A, paper 1. So first question and the A bit, and the two in the first bit. A bit is completely asked for mathematics. In that, the very first question here, obtain the partial differential equation governing the equations of the surfaces. You can say f of u comma v is equal to 0, where u is equal to x plus yz and v is equal to x plus y plus z here. And here clearly we can see these are the independents. These are independent here. So from this we can understand here. So for these f of u comma v equations, so the corresponding partial differential equation we have to find out. So coming to this here, as we all know that linear partial differential equation, that is of pp plus qq is equal to r, where p and q and r are functions of x comma y comma z, here, and this is the linear partial differential equation. So in this method, if you for this differential equation, if you solve it, the solution is going to be here, that is phi of u comma v is equal to 0, where these two are the independent solutions here. So this is what exactly we know this. Here. Now, here also you see that here what happens, this is the differential equation and this is the solution if you solve this differential equation, correct? Right? But it is completely reversely it is asked. So what is that? He has given this solution and he is asking the respective partial differential equation. So what is the procedure for that? That we will see here, right? So the solution is, right, as this f of u comma u is given that x plus yz, v is given that x plus y plus z here, and for these f of y, so we know that, I can write here, we know that for the equations f of u comma v is equal to 0, the required partial differential equation is of pp plus qq is equal to r. Here. So this is what we have to find out from the given u and v here, from the given equations u and v. So how to get this partial differential equation? That is where this capital P and capital Q and capital R are the functions of x, y, z, which I already told you, right? And we know that the small p and small q are dou z by dou x and dou z by dou y, which are the first derivative. So in these things, so remember that x comma y are independent. Okay, x comma y are independent variables and z is dependent variable. Z is a dependent variable here. So this is, we know that already, right? Okay, now I'm going to give the solution for this. Then how you are going to form the pp plus qq is equal to r from the given u and v. As it was asked for only 8 marks, dear students. As it is asked for only 8 marks, so you can give this equation directly like this here. Now I can say where this P, Q are the functions of x comma y comma z, and they are given by P is equal to here the determinant of dou u by dou y, dou u by dou z, dou v by dou y, and dou v by dou z. Q is equal to here, that is dou u by dou z and dou u by dou x and dou v by dou z and dou v by dou x here. Then R is equal to here, that is dou u by dou, yes, this is R, so x, and dou u by dou y and dou v by dou x and dou v by dou y. So these are the determinants which we can say the Jacobians, sorry, not Jacobians, these are the determinants which will give you the capital P, capital Q, capital R, so which can be substituted in this equation PP plus QQ is equal to R, right? So now let us find out these things here. Yes, what is dou u by dou y? So what is u here? Now let me write here, that is ux is equal to 1, uy is equal to, that is z, and uz is equal to y, and now vx equal to 1, vy is equal to 1, vz is equal to 1. These are all the partial differences. Now I simply substitute these things into this. Dou u by dou y is z, dou u by dou z is y, and this one, that is dou u by dou y 1, 1. So if you take this determinant, it will give you z minus y, which is equal to P here. Now coming to Q. So in this Q here, dou u by dou z, what is dou u by dou z is y, and dou u by dou x is 1, and yes, dou v by dou z is 1, 1 here. So this is going to be here y minus 1. This is going to be y minus 1. Then again it is coming to like this. Dou u by dou x is 1, dou u by dou y is z, and dou v by dou x is 1, dou v by dou y is 1. So this is of 1 minus z. This is of 1 minus z. Now you got the P, Q, R. So therefore I can say, therefore the corresponding, the partial differential equation is, that is z minus y into P, that is dou z by dou x, plus and y minus 1 into dou z by dou y is equal to, this is R, that is 1 minus z. So this is the required partial differential equation for the given equations phi of u comma v is equal to 0. So this is the method for finding. It's a complete, exactly the reverse procedure of solving the linear partial differential equation. Okay, so now coming to second question. In the first option, first question itself, a bit in the second question from mathematics side, right? So previous question was the same, that is f of u comma v is equal to 0. For that we have find out the partial, we determined the partial differential equation for it. So that is the elimination of arbitrary function f. So that we have obtained by linear partial differential equation concept, right? But coming to this one here, if you see, construct a partial differential equation of all surfaces of revolutions. Surfaces of revolutions having z-axis as axis of rotation. So that means the surface of the curve which is rotating about rotated about a curve. Suppose I just say like this, see here. See, in this XYZ plane, if you take it, right? So this is X and this is Y here, and this is Z here. Now, some curve, if you take it, this is the origin. Suppose if you take this curve here, if you take this is the curve, right? And if this is rotated about the Z-axis, If the z-axis is the axis of rotation, and so then it must be rotated about the z-axis, right? It is rotating about z-axis. If it is rotating about z-axis, so what is going to be seen here? What is going to be seen here? So you are going to see this kind of a solid or a surface. So this is called as surface of revolutions. This is called as surface of revolutions here. I hope you understand. Right? So this is the surface of revolutions here. So this is the surface. So now we have to find out the partial differential equation of this surface of revolutions having the z-axis as a rotation. So that means any curve is rotating about the z-axis as its axis of rotation, and it is generating a volume, it is generating a surface or a solid. So for that we need to find out the partial differential equation here. But always this curve need not to be like this, correct? But just generalizing this concept here, any curve you rotate about z-axis like this, due to the revolutions, see, it is formed by the circular planes along the z-axis or not? Yes. So therefore, here what I can write, suppose if I get the equation of these surfaces, all these surfaces which represents all these surfaces of revolutions, so then here I can get its corresponding partial differential equation. But how to write its equation of this kind of surface of revolution? Let's see here. First of all, what I wanted to say that this is the surface is formed by the circles. This is the equation. So this is the solid is formed by the circles along the z-axis. Along the z-axis. So as it is formed by, now I can say here in this solution that the surface of revolutions about z-axis is formed by circular planes along z-axis here. So then if it is the case, then how do you generalize an equation of the surfaces here, which is formed by this? These circles means these circles will be taken in xy plane along the z-axis. So in this case, therefore, the equation of the surfaces is here z is equal to, see, the circular planes along the z-axis. So what is the equation of the circles? Basically, x square plus y square is equal to some radius. But this one is taking along the z-axis. That is we written as here phi of under root of this z is equal to phi of under root of x square plus y square. So this is the equation of the surface of revolutions we are taking as a general equation. So now this is what exactly you have to understand, that what is the equation of the surface of the revolutions of any curve when it is rotated about the z-axis. So this is the equation of the surface for which you need to find out the partial differential equations. But if you want to find out the partial differential equation, as phi is an arbitrary function, it can be anything here. We don't know it is what it is exactly. It may be a square function, it may be cubic function, or it may be some other function, any kind of function. It is arbitrary here. I can say here where phi is an arbitrary function. Where phi is an arbitrary function here. Now, if you can eliminate this by eliminating this arbitrary function from the equation of the surfaces and form the differential equation, then this is going to be done. Now, let's see how I can find out the partial differential equation by eliminating. Now, I am writing here very clearly, forming the partial differential equation by eliminating the arbitrary function phi. Forming the partial differential equation by eliminating the arbitrary function phi from 1. Yes, how to eliminate this? Let us see here. If you want to find out the partial differential equation, so we must have the equation, we must have the partial derivatives with respect to x and y here, as z is depending on x and y. Right. Now what I will do is differentiate 1 partially with respect to x. So then what I will be getting here, it is dou z by dou x is equal to phi different. Phi can be anything. It may be cos, sine, square, cube, or anything here. So it may be any function. So first, if you want to differentiate that function with respect to x, so I should write like this here. It is, that is phi dash of under root of x square plus y square, x square plus y square. Okay. After phi differentiation, so differentiating phi as phi dash, and internally here, what is the differentiation of under root x? So under root is here 1 by 2 root of x square plus y square. Then again, what is this internal derivative of x square plus y square with respect to x partially? It is 2x. It is 2x. So this is the expression 2, I take it, which is of partial differentiation with respect to x. Similarly, we take the partial differentiation of 1, partial differentiating 1 with respect to y partially. Now differentiating 1 partially with respect to y now. So then what happens? It is of dou z by dou y is equal to, right, phi differentiation is phi dash under root of x square plus y square. Now what is the internal derivative of this one? Under root is, under root differentiation is 1 by 2 under root. This one. Again, the internal derivative of x square plus y square with respect to y is 2y. It is 2y. So this is what the 3 here. This is 3 here. So now from 1, 2, 3, how can we eliminate this arbitrary function phi? Let us see here. See here, in the second and third, as phi dash is there, what we can do is, if you are dividing these two, phi dash gets cancels. So therefore, what I'll do is 2 divided by 3 here, we get, yes, this is dou z by dou x, which is p. So p, and this is dou z by dou y, that is q, is equal to this phi dash, and this phi dash gets cancels. And now 2 gets cancelled, 2 gets cancelled, under root of x square plus under root of x square plus cancel, and you are getting only x by y. So this implies here py minus xq is equal to 0. So this is the required partial differential equation for the surfaces of revolutions when it is taking the z-axis as axis of rotation. So this is a theoretical question. I just want to say that. But you must know, theoretical question means, see, first of all, if you know this equation of the surfaces when it is rotated about z-axis, so you can do this problem mathematically. So that is why, see here, this is very crucial step in this question. If you are formulating this, or if you are able to write the equation of the surfaces of revolutions about the z-axis as this, so then all these things can be done, because we know how to eliminate the arbitrary function from the given equation of surfaces, right? Okay. So this is the second question answer. Yes. Now first question is done, and now we are entering into second question here. That is the A bit. In that, again, the first question has been given as a theoretical question. It is from linear algebra. And this theoretical question, so it is kind of theorem, but here actually we can get the logical conclusion just by knowing the concept of diagonalization. If you know the concept of diagonalization, you can get this logical conclusion, and we can write the proof for this here. We can write down the proof for this. So what is that? First, I'll just introduce the diagonalization. So I repeat here, just look at this. So by diagonalization, here, you can write D is equal to P inverse AP here. We all know that by similarity transformation, if any matrix is written as P inverse AP, so then this matrix and this matrix A are similar matrices, correct? Similar matrices here, whose eigenvalues and determinants are same. Even eigenvectors are also same here, right? Now, so it is asking what? As a square matrix A, so this is something, square matrix A here, if this matrix A is of order n, that is a square matrix A n by n, with entries in the field F, that means the elements can be real numbers or complex numbers. So what he said here, with entries in the field F here, has n distinct eigenvalues. That means this square matrix has having n distinct eigenvalues. And here, then we have to prove that the matrix A is similar to a diagonal matrix D. The diagonal matrix D. So that means, can we get the D as P inverse AP or not? If this is asked, that then prove that the matrix A is similar to a diagonal matrix or not means, if we can write the diagonal matrix is equal to P inverse AP for a given matrix A, then we can say that here this matrix A and this matrix D are similar to each other. So actually, the one thing very clear, when this is possible, the question is here, when you want to say that A is similar to D, so that means this should be possible. When this is possible here, that is the question. So we all know that the necessary and sufficient condition for the square matrix to be written as a diagonal matrix, or it can be diagonalized. It can be diagonalized only if and only if all the eigenvectors of A are linearly independent. All the eigenvectors are linearly independent. If all the eigenvectors of A are linearly independent, then the model matrix which consists the eigenvectors, okay, will be a non-singular matrix because all the columns are independent. So model matrix definitely is non-singular matrix. So if it is non-singular matrix, then P inverse exists. So P inverse exists, P exists, and we know A. So therefore, this P inverse AP is possible, and this will give you that required diagonal matrix. So once you can get the D is equal to P inverse AP, it is confirmed that A is similar to D. A is similar to D here. So this is the concept of the similarity transformation and the diagonalization. Okay, now let us go with this how you are going to prove it here. How you are going to prove this one? Let's see this solution of this, right? Yes, my dear students, a square matrix. So here let A n by n be a square matrix, or I need not to tell, but it is okay. Let me write this. Is a square matrix, and it has, see, it's what is saying if E condition is there. What is the condition we have to take? That it has n distinct eigenvalues. See, let A n by n be a square matrix, has n distinct eigenvalues. N distinct eigenvalues. If A is having n distinct eigenvalues, so what is the order of A here? N. So that means, can I say all these n distinct eigenvalues? See, all the eigenvalues of A are distinct eigenvalues or not? Yes. As the order of A is n by n, so definitely the eigenvalues are also n number of eigenvalues exist, and he is saying that all n are distinct eigenvalues. So therefore, all the eigenvalues of A are. So this implies all the eigenvalues of A n by n are distinct. Distinct here. Dear students, we know that a logical conclusion, a logical implication, that is the number of distinct eigenvalues implies the number of independent eigenvectors. The number of independent eigenvectors. Now here in this one, what we have supposed that? We have supposed that all the eigenvalues of A are distinct. If all the eigenvalues of A are distinct, then as the number of distinct eigenvalues implies the number of independent eigenvectors, so it is very clear that therefore we can say that all the eigenvectors of A all the eigenvectors of a n by n are linearly independent. Linearly independent. If all the eigenvectors are linearly independent, that is like x1, x2 and so on, xn are linearly independent. So then the model matrix P is equal to, what is model matrix? Which consists of column vectors. Which consists of eigenvectors as column vectors. That is x1, x2, x3 and so on. xn, it is n by n matrix because it is a nth column, n column vector, nth column vector, n column vector, nth column vector. So totally it is become a n by n square matrix, right? So this model matrix P is a non-singular matrix. Non-singular matrix. Why? Because all the column vectors are linearly independent. If all the columns are linearly independent, definitely the determinant is non-zero. So that is mod P is not equal to 0. This implies P inverse exists. Yes, if P inverse exists, so we can find P inverse AP. Okay, we can find out P inverse AP so that we get a diagonal matrix D. Hence, we can write D is equal to P inverse AP. D is equal to P inverse AP. Hence, I can write. See, I already told you similarity transformation. If D is equal to P inverse AP, so according to similarity transformation, this D and A are similar matrices because their determinants and eigenvalues and eigenvectors are same. Trace is also same. So this implies that A is similar to D. So this is how, hence proved here. Hence proved. So this is how the logical conclusion has to be given for this theoretical statement here. So it is here nothing new. It is not a big thing here. It is very easy only because we have very clearly explained the concept of the diagonalization. We have done the n number of problems, including this quadratic forms and all. So here the concept is this was the concept explained over there. And if you know that necessary and sufficient condition of diagonalization, so then this can give the logical conclusion like this. So this is the solution you have to write exactly in the examination so that you will get the full marks of it. Right. Now, second question A bit and second question from the mathematics side, that is find the matrix P which diagonalize the matrix associated with this quadratic form. So what is the, first we have to find out what is that matrix which is associated with this quadratic form here. So after finding this matrix here, so that in the process of diagonalizing that matrix, so what is the matrix P? So what is the matrix P here? It's the model matrix. So we need to find out only the model matrix P which can diagonalize the square matrix we obtain from this quadratic form. This is what we have to do. But already we know the concept of diagonalization. Just we are coming to this one here. Right. Now let's write the matrix associated with this quadratic form. See here how to write this. Actually, if you are writing the matrix associated with the quadratic form will be a symmetric matrix here. So how do you write this symmetric matrix here? So write the matrix as A is equal to C here. I'll write it here. I'm taking here X, Y, Z and I'm taking X, Y, Z here. Now, basically, it is x square. So it is x into x square, whose coefficient is 3. So I am taking it here 3. and now y square. So here y into y, it is y square. The coefficient is 5 here. I'll take 5 here, and z into z, z square coefficient is 3 here. Now next coming to this, minus 2yz. So this minus 2yz we can understand it as minus yz minus zy. Minus yz minus zy. So therefore, so for yz here it is taken as minus 1, and for yz it is taken as minus 1. For zy, for yz it is taken like this. Now coming to xz. So 2xz is taken as xz plus xz. Xz plus xz means this can be 1 here, this can be 1 here. Now minus 2xy. So it is minus xy minus xy. So here minus 1, here minus 1. So this is what exactly you are getting the square matrix A here. Right. Now looking into this, first, ultimately we need to find out the model matrix P. But what is the model matrix P here? The model matrix P, which consists of x1, x2, x3, which are the eigenvectors of the matrix A here. So the eigenvectors are given by eigenvalues. So that means here we need to find out first the eigenvalues of this matrix A here. That is, find the eigenvalues of A 3 by 3. It is given by mod of A 3 by 3 minus lambda I is equal to 0. Right. So then writing this one as 3 minus lambda minus 1, 1, and minus 1, 5 minus lambda, 1, sorry, minus 1, 1 minus 1, 3 minus lambda, and equal to 0 here. If you are expanding this equation and solving this, so what you are getting it? Expanding here we get, it is minus lambda cube plus 11 lambda square, and here minus 36 lambda, and then plus 36 is equal to 0. Plus 36 is equal to 0. So this is what the equation of the equation you are going to get it here, right? After expanding this. So therefore, if you solve this quadratic equation, cubic equation, solving, we get here lambda is equal to 2, 3, 6 here. Now add these three is 2 plus 3, 5 plus 6, 11. So it's trace is 11 or not? Yes. And multiplication, here it is 2 into 6 into 6, that is 36. See, the constant term of the characteristic polynomial, which is the determinant of the matrix, that is also 36, satisfying here, right? So this is 2, 3, 6. This is how you need to always check your answers, what you got as a right or not, reconfirming again. Anyway, lambda is equal to 2, 3, 6 here. Now find the eigenvectors. Find the eigenvectors here. Now first one here, substitute lambda 1 is equal to 2 in A minus lambda 1I into x1 is equal to 0. So we all know that solving this kind of homogeneous equation, so we will be getting the eigenvector here, right? What is A minus lambda I? This we know it, and substituting lambda 1 is equal to 2. So we get the equations. Yes, what are the equations we get is 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. So 1 into x is x, and then here minus y and plus z is equal to 0. And this one is minus x. 5 minus 2 is 3 plus 3y, and minus z is equal to 0 here. Is equal to 0. And we take the third equation also, that is x minus y, and this is 3 minus 2 is 1, so that is plus z is equal to 0. We got the three equations like this. Now any two independent equations you take and solve them. Now I'll take this is 1, 2 and 3 here. Now solving 1 comma 2 here. Solving 1 comma 2, how it is, let's see. X, Y, Z here. Taking X, Y, Z, I already explained the class. X, Y, Z here. Now it is the order of this one. First start from the Y coefficient. It is minus 1 because from the first equation I take the Y coefficient minus 1 here. So यहाँ से शुरू करना है. So we'll take the coefficients in this cyclic order. So after y coefficient, then we have to take the z coefficient, and then we have to take the x coefficient, then we have to take the y coefficient. So first and last are same. In that way you have to take. Now you have to take from coefficient from the second equation. So now you take the coefficients in cyclic order, that is 3, minus 1 and 3 here. So now solving this here, x by, yes, what is the determinant of this, my dear students? It is 1 minus 3. Because 1 minus 3 is minus 2, y by, here if you are taking this determinant, it is minus 1 plus 1, it is 0. And z by, here the determinant of this is 3 minus 1 is 2. So here it is 2 minus 1, 2 zeros, 2 ones. So you can write it is equal to k here. So therefore x1 is equal to here x, y, z, which is equal to here k into minus 1, 0, 1. Minus 1, 0, 1. So this is the x1 here. Similarly, see now we need to find out second one, solving. Oh, substitute. I'm sorry. Substitute lambda 2 is equal to 3 in a minus lambda 2I into x2 is equal to 0. So then we get the equations here. That is substitute lambda 2 is equal to 3. So this is 0. So 0x minus y plus z is equal to 0, and minus x, and 5 minus 3 it is 2. So plus 2y minus z is equal to 0. I think we need any two independent equations are enough. So here we are getting the two independent equations. So here I can go ahead with this fourth and fifth. Now if you want to write the third equation also, no problem. X minus y, 3 minus 3 will be 0. So that is 0z is equal to 0. So this is sixth one. Now I am going to solve only fourth and fifth. So by solving fourth and fifth, here we are going to get x2 is equal to x, y, z, that is equal to here. We are going to get for lambda 1 is equal to 3. So 2 it is over. Now for 3, so what we are getting here exactly, k is equal k into 1, 1, 1. So the same thing, same procedure we apply here also, then we'll get it. Now the third one is substitute lambda 3 is equal to 6. Lambda 3 is equal to 6 in a minus lambda 3I into x3 is equal to 0. And solving the equations, we get x3 is equal to k into, here we get, it is minus 1, 0, 1. No, actually it is, sorry, it is not minus 1, 0, 1. It is of 1 minus 2, 1 here, right? 1 minus 2, 1 here. So these are the eigenvectors we are getting here. These are the eigenvectors we are getting it. Now let's write the model matrix here. Yes, so we got the eigenvectors of for each eigenvalue. So now we have to take the model matrix. Model matrix for the given symmetric matrix. So actually we take the model matrix for the symmetric matrix as, that is P is equal to here x1 by norm x1, x2 by norm x2, x3 by norm x3 here. That is, this norm x1, norm x2, norm x3 is nothing but the, if x1 is a vector, then norm x1 is the length of the vector. So it's a modulus value, right? So that we will take it here. Now, okay, what is the norm x1 here? So we have a x1, that is, I'll tell you like this. See, I'm going to place x1, x2, x3 in this, that is minus 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, this is x2, and then it is 1, minus 2, 1 is the x3 here. Now, I have to divide that each component in this each column vector by its modulus of this vector. That means, so what is the modulus of this vector? That is under root of minus 1 whole square plus 0 square plus 1 square. That is nothing but under root 2 here. So therefore, it is to be divided by root 2 here, and this is divided by root 2, right? Then coming to this one is, it is, what is the modulus of this vector only? That is under root of 1 square plus 1 square plus 1 square, that is root 3. So therefore, this is divided by root 3, this is divided by root 3, and this is divided by root 3. And then coming to this one here, 1 square plus 2 minus 2 whole square plus 1 square. So this is 2 and plus 4. So it is 6. So that is under root 6 here. So divided by under root 6 here. So this is the exact model matrix for the given symmetric matrix or for the given quadratic form of the quadratic form here. So this is what exactly the model matrix which you have to find out. But some of the students in the examinations, they got in like this. Here this vector and these vectors are interchanged here. So it doesn't matter. The order of these vectors may be in any order. It may be any order, but that matrix, that model matrix NBT is correct only. Because if you are taking lambda 1 as 2, so you will be getting this one. And if you are taking the lambda 2 as 3, you are taking this one, you are getting this one. For lambda 3 is equal to 6, you are getting this one. Suppose if you are taking that, suppose if some other will take lambda 1 is equal to 6, then this vector will come here, and the rest, then again the corresponding vectors will be taken at their place here. So the order of these vectors can be in any manner, but this is going to be the model matrix here. Even that order of these vectors, if are interchanged or changed or different, so still you will get the correct marks for this examination. So this is the way you have to find out the model matrix for the diagonalization. This we have already done in the classroom while I'm dealing the quadratic forms. So it's a simple, I'm telling you, this is classroom question itself. Classroom questions. So like that, all the questions have been, most of the questions have been come from the classroom notes itself. So therefore, those who prepared for the class notes, I think they all can do these questions very easily. But the previous question which we have done, that somewhat theoretical, so that is the first question in before this, that was completely logical. So that means conceptual. I mean to say that conceptual. I'm sorry, conceptual. So conceptual, if you have the concept, those who, if you look at the introduction part of the diagonalization, so there it is very clear picture that when the matrix can be similar to the diagonal matrix, or the diagonal matrix gives similar to this given matrix. I've explained with the similarity transformation and similarity matrices definition and conditions of them, and the process of diagonalization, and the necessary and sufficient condition for getting the diagonalization also. So all these things were explained very clearly so that you can get the logical flow for that. So if that kind of theoretical question comes which are purely conceptual, those who are having the concept clearly, they only can answer the questions here. So this which were done in the classroom only. So that's why we are very happy that most of the questions have been come from the classroom note itself. Okay, so this is the solution of the diagonalization quadratic form question. Okay, fine. Yes, dear students. So third question here. In the third question, A bit and the very first bit here, from the probability, that is random variable concepts है ना, बहुत easy concept है random variable, that we know that the probability density function of the continuous random variable is given here. That is f of x is this for this interval, and this for this interval is this, for this interval is this, for this interval is this here, right? So now here we need to find out the first question A. So this A is an arbitrary constant which is mentioned in the probability density function. So we need to find out this arbitrary constant A from the PDF here. Okay, let us find out. Next, the second question, we need to find out the cumulative distribution function here, that is cumulative probability distribution function, that is CDF we say that, probability distribution function also we say that, right? Yes, that also will do it. And the coming to probability of x greater than 2.5, it is a cumulative probability function only, probability only, so that we can find out. Now, as we all know that, yes, the solution for the first one, so P here, right? First, Yes, as we all know that here given PDF is valid, that means the probability density function is valid if and only if integration from minus infinity to infinity of the f of x dx is equal to 1. That means the total area under the curve f of x from minus infinity to infinity should be 1 here. Then only this f of x can be treated as a valid probability density function. So using this condition here, we can find out this arbitrary constant a here. Let's see how we are finding. So this minus infinity to infinity f of x can be written as here, as the function is piecewise at 0 to 4. So therefore we split this integration at 0 to 4 infinity, right? So this all these integrals must be is equal to 1 here. Now this minus infinity to 0, what is the f of x here? That is x less than 0, 0 dx. 0 to 2 the function is ax dx, and 2 to 4 the function is a into 4 minus x dx, and 4 to infinity, that is here it is 0 dx. So this is all these integral values, sum of all these integrals should be is equal to 1. This is 0, and the integration of this is a x square by 2 from 0 to 2, and plus here a 4x minus x square by 2, because the integration of this will be 4x minus x square by 2 from 2 to 4 is equal to 1 here. Now if you are solving this, this is 2 square 4, so it is 2a. It is 2a here minus 0, right? Minus 0 plus here again a into yes, substitute 4 here. This is 16 minus 8, that is 8, minus it is 8 minus 2, that is 6. Okay, then this is equal to 1 here. So it is 2a plus 2a, it is 4a is equal to 1. So therefore a is equal to 1 by 4. So it is a is equal to 1 by 4 here. So this is how we are finding the value of a here, right? Now the second question, that is q. What is q is find CDF here. But actually we know the relation between the CDF here, that is CDF p of a less than or equal to x less than or equal to b is to be written as the integration a to b f of x dx, which is to be understood as f of b. So I can say that it has f of b minus f of a, but in this one, so you understand this is a cumulative distribution function. We say that cumulative distribution function from between this interval a to b here. So what we understand from this one here, if you want to find out the cumulative probability from a to b, so then we are integrating or not? We are integrating here. So similarly here, if you want to find out the cumulative probability function within this interval means, so we need to integrate this f of x here. And in this interval, we need to integrate this f of x. And anyway, in this interval, the function is not defined. So no cumulative probability. In this interval also, no probability. So therefore, what I'll do is, using this concept, what I will do is that capital F of x, we can write, that is a CDF, right? The CDF capital F of x, we can give it by here, right? Integration of this is 0 for x less than 0, that is obvious. So now coming to this ax, so this one is ax square by 2, ax square by, that integration of this one is that, and then it is going to be 0 less than x less than or equal to 2. So within that interval, if you want to find out the cumulative probability means, we need to integrate that function. So integrating the ax, that is ax square by 2. But what was the value of a? You got it is 1 by 4 of x square by 2. Next, coming to this here, in the interval of 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. So within this interval, if you want to find out the cumulative probability means, we need to integrate that. So we need to integrate that. By integrating that function, what you are getting it exactly, that is 1 by 4 of 4x minus x square by 2. And the next one is 0 when it is x greater than 4 here. So this is what exactly the capital F of x here, which is the cumulative distribution function. Now moving on to R. So what is this R here? That is, we need to find out the probability of x greater than 2.5. As we know that this probability density function is defined, the probability function is defined up to the 4 only. Remaining greater than 4, it is going to be 0. It is 0 here. So therefore, I can find out this one, p of x greater than 2.5, as it is integration 2.5 to infinity f of x dx. F of x dx here. But here we know that up to 4, it is 2.5 to infinity, it is piecewise function, because 2.5 to 4, the function is written as 4 minus x into a. So therefore I am writing here 1 by 4 of yes, it is of 4 minus x into dx. Okay, then again 4 to infinity. So 4 to infinity f of x is 0. So this is how the way we are doing the integration of this f of x as per the interval of functions. So this one. Now integrating this, what you are getting, that is 1 by 4 gets cancelled. It is of x minus it is x square by 8 from 2.5 to 4. 2.5 to 4 here. So this you are going to get it as 0.218. 0.218 here. So this is the way you are getting the solution for all these 3 questions in probability. It's not 218, it is 281. After simplifying this all by substituting this 4 minus 4 square 16 by 2 and all those things, substitute upper limit minus lower limit, you are getting the 0.281 is the answer for that question. Okay. Yes. Here we are going to the second question in the third one. That is evaluate the integral c cos z by z square z minus pi whole cube dz. It's a contour integration of the complex functions here. So within the contour, that is modulus of z is equal to 4, which is a circle of radius 4. This is minus 4, 4, 4 and then minus 4 here. This is the circle of radius 4 here, right? Now what is the function here? The integral function is that, so given f of z is, that is cos z by z square z minus pi whole cube here, right? This is the f of z is given. Now the singularities are here z is equal to 0 comma pi here, z is equal to 0 comma pi here, and so here this is the contour which is given, modulus of z is equal to 4, right? And these z is equal to 0 and pi means what? The pi value you should take it as a 3.14. So that means somewhere it is pi here, right? And this is a 0. So these are the 2 poles we are seeing, that these are the 2 poles you are seeing which both lies inside the C. So the singularity z is equal to 0 and pi lies inside the contour, and they are of what type of singularities here? According to this function, so here these singularities are of pole of order. Z is equal to 0 is a pole of order 2, and this z is equal to pi is a pole of order 3 here inside C, and the z is equal to 0 is pole of order 2, and z is equal to pi is the pole of order m is equal to 3 here. Now what we have to do is we need to find out, so as more than one pole is inside the contour, we have to apply the Cauchy residue theorem. So what I will say here, by Cauchy residue theorem here, the integral c f of z dz is given by here 2 pi I into the residue at 0 and the residue at here pi. So this is what you have to find out here exactly. So 2 pi I into residue at 0 plus residue at pi here. So sum of these two multiply by 2 pi I gives you the integration here, integration of this function here. Okay, let us find out the residue at 0 and residue at pi here. So residue at z is equal to 0 So residue at z is equal to 0. How you find out here, as it is a pole of order m here, right? So the order for this one is 1 by m minus 1 factorial limit here z tends to 0 dm minus 1 by dz m minus 1 of z minus 0 whole square into f of z. What is f of z was? That is cos z by z square, z minus pi whole cube here. So this is the formula for finding the residue at a pole of order 2. Pole of order m actually. Pole of order m. So where m is equal to 2, I have substituted here. So this is the formula, we know it and we have done it. So this z square and this z square gets cancelled here. And now we need to find out, we need to do the differentiation here. That is 1 by 1 factor, it's 1. It's dz by dz cos of this one. So it is very clear that the limit z tends to 0. And if you are taking the differentiation, it is z minus pi whole power 6. And now it is going to be z minus pi whole cube and into cos z differentiation is minus sin z minus cos z as it is, and the differentiation of this one is 3 into z minus pi whole square. So this is what the exact differentiation. And now you take the limit z tends to 0 into this. So when you take limit z tends to 0 into this, it is a pi cube. Or I can say limit z tends to 0. Okay, directly I can say z tends to 0. This is pi cube, but sine 0 is 0 here, and this term will be 0. But cos 0 is 1, and this is 0. So it is of minus 3 pi square 1. So it is minus 3 pi square you are getting it. Minus 3 pi square you are getting, and divided by what it is. This is 0 minus, so it is pi power 6. It is pi power 6 here, which is going to be minus 3 by pi power 4. So this is the residue at 0 you are getting it. And now you need to find out the residue at pi. Residue at z is equal to pi. Now for this, it is a pole of order m is equal to 3 here. Then the residue at pi is given by 1 by m minus 1 factorial limit z tends to pi, z tends to a, and dm minus 1 by dz m minus 1 of here z minus pi whole cube, and it is cos z by z square into z minus pi whole cube. So as per this formula, we take this and these two things gets cancelled here. And now it is of 1 by 2 limit z tends to pi, right? Now it is a 2 times differentiation of cos z by z square here. So one time differentiation will be what? So let me write the one time differentiation. It is a z power 4, right? It's a z power 4 and it is a z square. It is minus sin z. It is minus sin z and minus cos z into 2z here. So this is a one time differentiation, and then another time also if you differentiate it, then see you will be getting little bigger terms, but be patient, have patience and do all those things. That is z power 6 here. And this will be of z power 4, and the differentiation of this one is minus 2z sin z and minus, and here it is cos z. So it is z square cos z. Right, and then minus here this one 2 into cos z minus z sin z here. This is what that first derivative was, and then here it is of minus 4z cube of this whole thing here, whatever is there, as it is if I take it here. So then you are going to get the residue at pi. So what is the value of the residue at pi you are going to get is it is 1 by 2 of pi square minus 6 by pi power 4. So this is what you are getting it, the residue at pi here. Now Therefore, I can show you here. Therefore, the integral C f of z dz is equal to 2 pi I into the residue at 0 plus residue at pi. Residue at pi here. So now this one is 2 pi I into the residue at 0. What is the residue at 0? You got it. Minus 3 by pi power 4. And residue at pi is, it is of, you can divide it here. That is a pi power. Yes, you can write it as a 1 by 2. So plus 1 by 2 by 1 by pi square. And then 1 by 2 inside, that is minus 3 by pi power 4 here. Minus 3 by pi power 4 you are getting it. So then if you are adding these two, so you are going to get, that is 2I by here pi cube, because pi power 4 gets cancels here. 1 cancel here. So then you are going to get, it is of it is minus 3 pi by 4, okay, minus 3 pi by 4, and then minus 3 pi by 4, it is minus 6 pi by 4. So it's 1 pi by 4 is gets taken common here. So it is 1 by 2 pi minus 6 by pi. Already pi cube is taken common, right? So don't take that pi cube common here. So then I'll write it here, pi cube as it is. So this is going to be this thing, 2I into 1 by 2 pi square. That pi gets cancelled here. And then this one here, it is of 1 pi gets cancelled. It is of minus 6 by pi cube here. So this is how you are getting the integral value of this integral cos z by z square into z minus pi cube here. So this is what. Same thing. It's just an application of Cauchy residue theorem. But only thing is, so meanwhile you should have some differentiation there. Now we'll look into the fourth question here. In that, the first question, it is asked the state Dirichlet conditions for the existence of Fourier series of a function here. See, the Dirichlet conditions for writing the function as a Fourier series are called basically the sufficient conditions. The sufficient conditions for writing the given f of x as a Fourier series in the interval. Right? The very first one here, and second one, there are third one. So the three conditions are there of the Dirichlet conditions. The very first one is here, f of x must be finite. F of x is finite, single valued, and periodic in the interval. Second one is that f of x can have a finite number of discontinuities. A finite number of discontinuities in the interval. In the given interval, if f of x is having a finite number of discontinuities, still we can have the Fourier series for the given function. So that's the second condition of the Dirichlet. And the third one, that f of x may have, that means it can have several maxima and several minima. Several maxima or several minimum. Here, let's say that several maxima and several minima. In a sawtooth wave also, you can understand the you can write it have a several maxima, several minima over there. So there the function can have a Fourier series for this in this case also. So these are the Dirichlet conditions which are called as sufficient condition for the function f of x to be written as a Fourier series within the given interval here. Right. So now after this, there is a question is given, determine the half range Fourier series. So determine the half range cosine series, Fourier cosine series for the function f of x here. F of x is given as x and pi minus x, and this is in the interval of pi by 2, 0 to pi by 2, and this in the interval of pi by 2 less than or equal to x less than pi here. So this is what is given in this. Now we need to find out the half range cosine series. See the interval here. For the half range Fourier series, the interval is to be taken as 0 comma L. So this 0 comma L is given as here 0 comma pi. For the half range Fourier series, the interval is 0 to L in this case, and this one is of 0 to pi. It is 0 to pi, equating this. So you are understanding that L is equal to pi. L is equal to pi here. Now, if you want to write this function as a cosine series, within this interval 0 comma L, so it is cosine series exists for only even function, correct? So what we have to do is we need to extend to get the half range cosine series, or to get the cosine series within this interval. What we have to do is we need to extend this function f of x from the interval 0 comma L to minus L comma L as an even function, here. So as you are supposing the f of x as an even function in the interval minus L comma L, so then writing the Fourier series for a even function, this f of x, this even function f of x minus L in the interval minus L to L will give you the cosine series. So that is called as this half range cosine series is exactly here, right? Now, so what we have to do is here, right? The half range cosine series is f of x is equal to a naught by 2 summation n is equal to 1 to infinity an cos n pi x by L. A naught by 2 plus summation n is equal to 1 to infinity an cos n pi x by L, where here a naught, I told you it is, we are treating this function f of x as an even function in the interval minus L to L. So we are extending it as an even function and writing the Fourier series of an even function and considered it as a half range cosine series, right? So a naught is equal to what? Yes, for the even function we write it as 2 by L integral 0 to L f of x dx. Here 2 by L means it is 2 by, yes, what is L is equal to? Pi. That is 0 to pi f of x. Yes, in 0 to pi f of x is piecewise. So what we have to do is that we need to split this integral at pi by 2 as it is piecewise at pi by 2. So 0 to pi by 2, here f of x is x dx, right? And then pi by 2 to pi, it is pi minus x into dx. So this is how you have to find out the a naught here. Now let's integrate this one. A naught is equal to 2 by pi of, yes, this is of x square by 2 from 0 to pi by 2, and then this one is, it is pi minus pi x minus x square by 2 from pi by 2 to pi, here. Anyway, so this is taken as a 2 by pi, right? 2 by pi, and this will be taken as pi square by 4, that is pi square by 8, and this is taken as what? It is pi square minus pi square by 2, okay, minus of this one. So it is pi square by 2 minus pi square by 8. So this is what is going to be here. Now if you simplify this, is minus pi square by 2 minus pi square by 2, it is minus pi square. So pi square gets cancels here, and this is going to be pi square by 8 minus of minus plus 2 pi square by 8, that is pi square by 4, and it is of 2 by pi square by 4, here, and this you are going to get it as pi by 2. So this is what the a naught value exactly we have to find now, and where an to be find it as 2 by L integral 0 to L f of x cos n pi x by L dx. That is here 2 by pi 0 to pi, 0 to pi. Again, as f of x is split twice because it is a piecewise function at pi by 2. So we split the integration at pi by 2. So pi by 2 f of x, that is x cos n pi by x by pi. So it is cos nx dx. Then pi by 2 to pi by 2 to pi here, that is pi minus x into cos nx dx here. Cos nx dx. So this what we have to do it exactly. So it's, if you are doing this integration, so you are going to get exactly, it is of if you want to do this integration, so I can give this solution here. Anyway, I'll do it here. 2 by pi of, yes, it is of uv, right? It's of uv here. So you are getting it as x cos nx by n minus, and this differentiation is 1, and this integration is sine nx by n square. So this is for 0 to pi by 2. 0 to pi by 2 plus, now integration of this one here, pi minus x into that. So it is pi minus x into, I can write this one as sine nx by n. Okay, then minus, and this differentiation is minus 1 of, this is minus cos nx by n square. Minus cos nx by n square here. I'm sorry. So this, cos, it is x, as it is integration of this cos nx is sine nx. Sine nx by n minus, this will be written as minus cos nx by n square here. Minus cos nx by n square here. And this is what? And the pi minus x sine nx by n. And then this differentiation is minus 1 and minus cos nx by n square here. So we are getting the answer for this if you are substituting all the upper limit and lower limit. Yes, so we are getting this a naught as, I can write it here, an. After simplifying this integration, an you are getting it as here 2 by pi n square of 2 cos n pi by 2 minus 1 whole to the power of n and minus 1. So this is what you are going to get the an here. So an value is this, a naught value is this. Just substituting into this Fourier series 1. Okay, so I can write it here. Substitute in 1. So we get f of x is equal to pi square, sorry, a naught is equal to what? Pi by 2. So this is going to be pi by 2 means pi by 4. Pi by 4 plus, so this will give us, right? So n naught by 2 plus summation n is equal to 1 pt. So 2 by pi I take it outside. 2 by pi I take it outside. Summation n is equal to 1 to infinity. It is 1 by n square of 2 cos n pi by 2 minus 1 whole power n minus 1 into cos nx. So this is what the half-range Fourier cosine series for the given function f of x, that is x in the interval 0 to pi by 2, pi minus x in the interval pi by 2 to pi. So it is very simple here. It's the same routine question. It's not a big different question here. As simple as that you will get it, right? Fine. Here we are looking into this, the pi by converting the fourth questions a bit, second one. By converting into line integral, evaluate the surface integral, okay, where the surface is a paraboloid, that is x square plus y square plus z is equal to 4 here, and now above xy plane, where f bar is equal to this, this one is given here. And now see here, f bar, this is differentiable, this is differentiable, this is differentiable. So all are differentiable. So this implies that f bar is differentiable function everywhere. It's a differentiable function everywhere here. But now, if you look at the surface here, what is this surface is basically, if you look at that, x square plus y square plus z is equal to 4. So, it is a kind of surface you are seeing that. Suppose this is the z axis here, and this is x and this is y here. So, what you are seeing that, you are going to see, it is a, see, based on the circle, the x square plus c square. So, somewhere it is like this. It is taken as like this here. So it is up to 4 here. It is up to 4 here. So it is a kind of a, see that it is very clearly above xy plane, it forms a circle or not. So this is the boundary. This is the boundary of this, and this is an open surface. When it is above xy plane, if you see that this is a open surface here, and which has a boundary, the circle in xy plane here. So this contour what you are seeing, it is a circle here. The contour what you are seeing here, it is a circle which is x square plus y square is equal to, z is equal to this is 4 here. X square plus y square is equal to 4 here when it's taken above z axis here. Now, as this surface is an open surface above xy plane, open surface above xy plane having the closed contour C, and f bar is differentiable function. F bar is differentiable. So therefore, by Stokes theorem here, we can write surface integral curl f bar dot n cap ds is equal to integral C f bar dot dr bar. Integral C f bar dot dr bar here. Yes, integral S curl f bar dot n cap is given by the line integral. See, this is how we are going to convert. Converting this surface integral into line integral, we need to evaluate this integral value. Correct. So now by using the Stokes theorem, as it is satisfying the conditions of Stokes theorem, so by applying the Stokes theorem, we can write a surface integral, or we can write a surface integral as a line integral here. So now if you are evaluating this, so then you will be getting this integral value. Now, how you have to evaluate this one? So this one, for this here, evaluate, the question is evaluate integral C f bar dot dr bar, where C is x square plus y square is equal to 4 above xy plane. So when I say above xy plane, I can say z is equal to 0, that is dz is equal to 0. dz is equal to 0 here. In this one, so therefore integral C f bar dot dr bar can be written as here, integral C, yes, integral C f bar dot dr bar can be written as f1 dx, that is x square plus y minus 4 into dx, and f2 dy, that is 3xy into dy, as dz is 0, so then this is I can say 0, right? So this is what we need to evaluate here, right? And C is a closed contour or not? Yes, C is a closed contour, and it is a closed contour, my dear students, right? How to evaluate this line integral? How to evaluate this line integrals means you can use the Green's theorem as the this f1 and f2 are differentiable here, and this is a closed contour. You can use the Green's theorem and evaluate it. You can use the Green's theorem and evaluate it. Or otherwise, what we can do is, as C is x square plus y square is equal to 4, I can write this circle equation into parametric forms. So x is equal to 2 cos theta, y is equal to 2 sin theta, where theta is from 0 to 2 pi. Now substituting this into this, that is integral, I'll write integral 0 to 2 pi x square. What is x square? Is that 4 cos square theta plus y, that is 2 sin theta, and then it is minus 4 into it is of what? Dx. Dx means what? Minus 2 sine theta d theta. And then plus it is 3xy dy. What is 3xy dy? Is 3 into x into y. So 3 into 4. It is 3 into 4 into sine theta cos theta. Okay. Into dy. What is dy? Is that 2 sine theta cos theta. So one more 2, but it is cos square theta. So into d theta here. So this is how everything has been written into thetas. So now we need to evaluate this, right? Anyway, so I'll split this integration. 0 to 2 pi, it is 4 cos square theta sine square theta. So it is minus 8 sine theta cos square theta d theta here, right? And then plus 2 into 2. So this is minus 4 sine square theta. 0 to 2 pi, it is sine square theta d theta here. Then minus plus 8 4 0 to 2 pi sine theta d theta here. Coming to this, plus 12 into 2, 24 integration 0 to 2 pi. It is sine theta into cos square theta d theta here. Cos square theta d theta here. Fine. Okay. Yes, whenever the integral limits are 0 to 2 pi or 0 to pi for the sine theta cos theta, we have to always check whether it can be reduced into 0 to pi by 2 or not. How to check this one? That is, here we know that the property of integration, that is integral 0 to 2a f of x dx can be written as twice of 0 to a f of x dx if f of 2a minus x is equal to f of x, and this is equal to 0 if f of 2a minus x is equal to minus f of x here. So under these conditions we need to write this 0 to 2 pi integral. Look at this here, 0 to 2 pi. If I replace sine of theta by minus 2 pi minus theta. So sine 2 pi minus theta is in fourth quadrant. In fourth quadrant, sine is negative and this is positive. So therefore, this is going to be negative. So when the replacement of x by 2a minus x, if you are getting minus of f of x, then the integral value remains 0. So therefore, so this is minus 8 into 0. And now see that it is 0 to 2 pi. It is 0 to 2 pi. And if you replace theta by 2 pi minus theta, it is in fourth quadrant. In fourth quadrant, it is negative, but whole square, it makes positive. So it is as it is. If the function is as it is, it can be written as 2 times of 0 to pi. So it is minus 4, 2 times of 0 to pi sine square theta d theta. Again, dear students, 0 to pi, it is at first two quadrants. In first two quadrants, sine is positive function. It remains same. So therefore, I can write again, it is 2 times of 0 to pi by 2 sine square theta. That means 0 to 2 pi sine square theta d theta can be written as 4 times of 0 to pi by 2 sine square theta. And coming to this sine theta, 0 to pi, it is upper side, and pi to 2 pi, it is lower side. So the areas are same, but magnitude is different. So it is plus and other one is minus. So therefore, this integral will remain 0 here. Then it is also same integral, this one, that is 24 of 0, because sine theta is there, right? So now coming to this is 0, 0, 0, 0 over there, and it is minus 16 into 1 by 2 into pi by 2. So this is going to be minus 4 pi. Minus 4 pi. So the value of this surface integral using by converting into line integral, the answer is for the given surface is minus 4 pi. So the answer for this question is minus 4 pi. So using the Stokes theorem, we are writing the surface integral as a line integral, and we are able to find out the line integral with the help of the parameterizing the equation of the contour and all. So these are the complete video solutions for the ESE Mains 2020 for the subject of engineering mathematics here. So I hope all the students have done very well in the mathematics side. Only the first one question might be a different one. It was asked here, but remaining all questions are very similar to the similar to questions what we have done in the classroom only. what we have done in the classroom. So those who have attended the classroom course, definitely they will do all these questions very easily and at the comfort. So maximum, if this is the representation, or this is the procedure how you are writing the things into the examination, so then obviously you will get the maximum marks here. So for everything you should give a logical explanation and reasons and all, since and therefore and all those together. So then if it is a clear explanation, is there are clear steps are there, so then you can get the higher number of marks and maximum number of marks. So hence you score good here. So that's it. So this is the video solutions for the engineering mathematics side for electrical branch paper 1, right? And wish you all the best. I hope you will be getting the very good rank. So that's it. Okay, all the best.